Hello, hi. I'm Seamless, and today I'm here to talk to you today about an expansion for, Easy Drummer and EZX called Kicks and Snares, EZX. But I'm also going to show you how you can integrate it into straight up Superior Drummer, and how I personally use it to do things to reinforce my acoustic drum sounds. Because that is basically the point of the Kicks and Snare EZX, is that it's kicks and snares that you can use to reinforce your sounds, but they're in the Superior Drummer ecosystem instead of being external things that you have to add to stuff. To wit, this video is totally sponsored by TuneTrack, but to be perfectly honest, I've always loved their stuff, so it's not as if that really affects my opinion at all. Anyway, so let's talk about the whole point of this. I have here a kit, and I'm going to demo a little demo so that we can hear how it feels all done up and mixed, and then I'll tell you how I did up and mixed it after I tell you how to actually put an EZX thing inside Superior Drummer. Anyway, here's the thing. It's kind of loud. I'm going to play it. Here it comes in 3, 2, 1. Here's what the kit sounds like by itself. That's the whole deal. All right, so the whole point of it is that the very first thing that I tend to do when I open up Superior Drummer, even no matter what genre I'm doing, is that I'm eventually going to want to have to reinforce the kick and the snare. There's a lot of mixing tricks you can do to take acoustic kicks and snares and use them like sidechain and do whatever to make them appropriately kind of snappy, but the best way is pretty much always some form of synthetic reinforcement. In the case of this, though, that's totally, like, usually the problem is that you have to find and make a thing and get it integrated and either sequence it alongside Superior Drummer, or you can't actually put a sample inside it. Now, that's something Superior Drummer 3 added. It didn't used to be the case, but it is also just so much easier to have things that are already appropriately integrated. Let's show you how we do that, because it is a bit of a process. So, here's a regular Superior Drummer with outs already going mixed out, I hope. No? Okay, well, let's do that. Stereo multi-channel outputs. Are you just not? Okay, you are. Actually, you already said we're good to go. Cool. So, the thought here, this is actually our preset. I just realized that's not what I wanted to do. Here, drum kit, just like any kit. Neat. Is this still going to be mixed weird? Yes, it is. Awesome. You know, I'm just going to go completely new, just to make it utterly easy. All right, good. Making it sure it's working out right. There we go. Out 1 and 2. Mixer reply, multi-channel outputs, and now we're good to go. Nice. Don't know why I sang that, but I did. So, here's a kick. Let's say we want to put in an EZX. The way that this works is you go to search for instrument, and this is where you go to preview whatever, anything, really. This is, you can get the core stuff that's in here too. Also, if you have any other SD kit or EZX kit, this is where they live. Click on kick and snares and get your kicks going, and you can use this to also preview the specific sound, but the second you pick one, the EZX is now here, and then you can pick any of the other ones, the ones that you want to have, based on whatever you end up finding. Same thing with the snare. Go in here, pick one. And then if you want, you can pick the one you actually want. Kind of like this guy. I like ringy snares like that. And now we have them. But something extra about them is that every one of these guys doesn't have just the regular mic setup. It doesn't just have a kick in, out, and sub. It also has sub 2, the skin, high and low, which are synthetic hits, and then an extra club tech, like kick hit. And then it's also got the overhead stuff. So you notice though that they're all routed into kick in, and that's just not right. And there's not a lot of extra specific like channels I could send this to, so I'm just gonna make a new channel, and they'll give us these X channels. I'm gonna do that for all of these. I'm going to put SD bottom and SD bottom OH into overhead condenser. The reason why is because overhead dynamic is where the close mics for the cymbals are. Overhead condenser is also where the close mics for the cymbals are in real life, but close mic in this case means that they have to be in that channel. And in the case of the big kit in the larger project that we'll look at, I did this specifically so that I could separate the metals overhead with the drum overhead. So overhead there. And then ambient near, it's already an ambient near. Ambient far, I'm just going to put in ambient farther than near, which is mid. There's actually probably more appropriate, specific, like, farther away ones. These surrounds are really far away, and they're pretty good. But that's how that guy gets routed. And same deal with the snare. We're going to need to do the same thing. Come in here, go to route instrument mics, and you got snare top, snare bottom, snare sub. I'm going to go to create a new channel for that one. Same thing with these guys, which also have more synthetic reinforcement stuff that we can use to add on to junk. Get in there. Here we go. Overhead condenser, ambient near, ambient mid. Cool. Now, the kick and the snare are both appropriately routed up. Except that these X mics that we just made are still actually coming out of the main, like, 1 and 2 output. And this is where things get special. Like, this is pretty much well up to you about what kind of outs and arrangements you want to have for these guys. At this point, we're going to go look at the one that I did, so I can explain to you how I did mine. In this case, I did kick out, kick in, out, kick out. This is the microphone that's in the kick. This is the microphone that's outside the kick, and this is the sub microphone, which is a big round, big object that exists to capture large, low frequencies. But then the snares start, and you notice that it starts at 15 and 16. That's because I just kept going over here. I have, there it is, the kick 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then what do I do? 15, 16, yeah, snares like that. So then the basic idea is that, like, progressing from the beginning, we got kick, snare, 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 everything else. So here's the whole kick list, here's the whole snare list, and then it's just all the cymbals, all the rest of the drum ambients, the toms, and then these are the buses that I made for the kick and the snare, and this is the bus I made for everything that isn't the kick and the snare, but notice there's no effects there. And then these guys all just go to the master, which I'm treating as essentially the tracks drum bus. And from here, I was able to use all the bits to do all the appropriate reinforcement that normally would take either a little bit longer because I had to, like, reinforce it with something externally, but also wouldn't, like, matched properly. And by matched properly, I actually learned some things about reinforcing kicks by the way with what tools they gave you to do it here. For example, you notice there's a sub 2 here. Like, there's regular kick sub, and then there's this. Like, this much cleaner, much quieter thing. It doesn't sound very clean and quiet because I'm compressing the crap out of it. Let's actually get rid of the effect for a second. Right, that's how low and down to sub he is. And then there's this other guy, which also get rid of the effect for a second. So this guy is fun because he is pretty punchy. Like, he's basically a synthetic kick, like the kind of kick you make when you just, like, pick a sine wave down. But he doesn't go far enough. Like, it stops at 50 hertz. It seems kind of high. And that's because the specific purpose of this dude is the whole concept of punch. And you might be like, well, cool, it'll punch harder if it goes farther, right? And you might be right about that. But you know what picks up immediately after he leaves off? The sub. That second sub that's there. It actually straight up is just this guy continued. Oh, and that was an interesting revelation for me because the described purpose, like when they actually give you, like, the example of how to use it, they talk about having these, like, spectrum targeted things that you can bring up and down a level in a way that won't screw with your tone. The tone is, of course, what you do with the actual kick, like kick in, kick out, kick sub. Like, this is the actual kick drum that got recorded. Now, it says that you like that tone, right? You like how you got there, you like what you mixed about it, but now you want it to, like, have extra X or Y. Usually you can either get real good with the EQ and do it all out of these guys, but that will mess with your tone. It'll mess with whatever you've managed to accomplish here. So you have to add on to it. How the hell ever you have the similar problem with that one is that, like, cool, I like the punch, but I don't like how low it is. But they're separate now, and they're not, and it's, like, not phase dependent. Leveling is almost always a better choice when it comes to, like, sculpting stuff like this because it's less of a phase destruction than some incredible EQ choices. Of course, I also made incredible EQ choices because you also have that option. You have the option to do both, and that lessens the overall, like, cost of reinforcement. There's an extra tappy thing. This thing it calls a club. Different kinds of taps and stuff, which, like, are also things that you generally want to add to things, like extra high frequency hit in a way that won't, like, destroy how good your low punch is in your layer. This is basically the most layer conscious EZX that exists. Same thing with the snare. We have the snare top and bottom, which is, like, the real snare, which I have a little bit of verb on. And then it has a snare sub, which I don't have on right now, but I have here just to show you that it exists because there's a snare sub. And then there's also the extra kind of taps, but this is like the synthetic response. And that's basically what I would make if I were gonna reinforce the thing. I would have made a fundamental low end, a kind of reinforcing touch, and then a high frequency noisy thing. And these aren't the way the samples are. Like this guy in particular, he's just another kind of 808 thing by himself. And the other 808 thing, no, not anything, I guess. This is that, but lower. So like by their powers combined, you're able to basically perfectly tune whatever kind of reinforcement you want out of it. Because without, like, this is what the snare is. And these are the ambients. It has more reverb as well, but that is where those samples went. And then by their powers all combined, they have like a perfect consideration for tone and punch. Tone and punch. You normally have to sacrifice. You either like are toning a thing to be the punchiest thing because that's why you're doing it, or you sacrifice punch because it's just how cool a thing sounds. Like you're just not going as hard because if you went any harder, it would ruin your tone. You have a choice now to go even farther without ruining your tone. Which of course you always have that option. You always could externally like support things and render it and whatnot, but like now it's just in the thing. Now Superior Drummer takes into consideration the idea that you're going to want to do this. That is basically true for any drum library, especially acoustic ones. Because the whole point of having an acoustic drum library is basically to have like a real kit, and a real kit never hits hard enough for the genres that we also want the texture of the real kit in. The first thing we want to do, reinforce it. So the idea that they have here, like giving us reinforcements to put into stuff, and expansive as hell. Like these are all real kick recordings and a couple of like merged ones and neat examples and things. And so it is still like it's a real kick to put into stuff. Plus this reinforcement with the expectation that like you're gonna want to use it to make the thing hit harder. But you also like how the thing sounded, right? Like that always blew me away about Superior Drummer in general, is that like they recorded these things like so freakishly well that is usually a shame to try and like push them and contort them hard enough to make it happen. But now they have planned for this. I swear these guys they just keep doing things I want. I don't even talk with them. They come to me when they make a thing and it's usually already done and they've been doing it for years. They know what the hell they're doing about this stuff. They always have. I love them a lot. I love T-Track. I love Superior Drummer, and I am a huge fan of this EZX kick and snare. It's just in my template now. Like my default Superior Drummer setup is now to have these in there because they're going to be better than whatever else I could possibly have, especially if I'm doing this. Yeah. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. There'll be links in the description and stuff for how you can go and find this stuff if you'd like to. I would also put this FLP up if you want to check it out for yourself. For the most part, the stuff in here is all first party, except I used a lot of reverb on whatnot. But probably one damage and too bad not to have it if you don't. At the very least, though, you'll see how this setup works, or you can just use this setup for yourself without having to do that. Anywho. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.